The agenda, we're going to welcome everybody to the GELL, go over rule changes and points of emphasis, how things work, and answer any questions. All right. Who is the GELL? The GELL is a boys youth lacrosse organization on the east side, K through 8th grade. We play K2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, and 8, 8. The Greater Eastside Youth Lacrosse League is a boys youth lacrosse league open to all youth lacrosse clubs that feed into Washington State's KinCo Conference high schools. GELL spans 22 programs with 110 teams. In spring 2020, our member clubs develop youth in the sport of field lacrosse. How things work in the GELL: the league's role is to provide rules, a schedule, and referees. Each one of your programs has one voting board member, and that person is your conduit to the league. The league's rules are published on the website at eastsidelacrosse.org, and you're responsible for knowing the rules and abiding by them. WALOA, the Washington Lacrosse Officials Association, we've got Aaron Karansky here. Aaron, would you like to say anything at this point?
Not at this point. Well, other than I would just encourage everyone, especially the program directors, to solicit more guys interested in officiating. We had a very small group show up at the field training yesterday, which will make it hard for us to cover all of the games. So continue to encourage a great way for players and former players to give back to their local clubs.
Aaron, can you provide some information on how coaches can put people in touch to be able to become a ref? You know, I've gone through this process, and this last month I've contacted Smitty and Andy and haven't gotten a response back. So a few of my guys are interested, but we haven't received. Is there another process that we should be going through?
The WALOA.info is the way to get yourself registered, to get yourself on the list, and for you to receive the emails and updates. I'm happy to work with Smitty and with Andy if there are more guys that are interested to figure out how to facilitate a classroom and field session over the first month of the GELL season. We're just going to need more guys than we have right now to get us through. So,
sounds good. Thanks. Then we've got a rules video. It's on YouTube. It's on uslacrosse.org. So you can find it through there, and then we'll make sure to send it out as well. So 2020 USA rule changes. We kept the 2020, 21, and 22 in here just because they apply. So illegal crosses no longer have different penalties. Penalties are 2-minute, non-releasable, and the cross can be fixed before returning to play. At the 5, 6, and 7, 8 levels only, after a stoppage in play, the game can restart when the defensive players are within 5 yards of the ball carrier. At 3, 4, and below, all players must remain 5 yards away from the ball carrier before restarting play, as they have in previous years. There's a webinar. That's the same link. I clicked on it, and it brought me to US Lacrosse. So you can go to that, and then it'll take you to that YouTube video as well. 2021 future equipment and uniform changes. Effective January 1, 2021, all goalkeepers shall wear chest protectors designed for lacrosse that meet the NOXA ND200 standard at the time of manufacture. Effective January 1, 2022, all field players shall wear shoulder pads that meet the same standard. And effective on the same date, the home team will be required to wear white, and the away team will be required to wear non-white. 2022 extended. The new shoulder pad rule link is there. You now have to wear a cup, so you need verbal confirmation from a coach, but the coach needs to, ensure that his players have a cup. So, I mean, don't go checking their pants or anything, but verbal confirmation is enough. When a goal differential reaches 12 or more in the second half, a running clock will be initiated. The running clock will continue until the end of the game. So if you get 12 goals and then it goes back down to 10 in a couple minutes, it's not going to stop the clock again. It's going to keep running. So once that 12 goal threshold has been met, it will be running clock for the duration of the game. Points of emphasis: sportsmanship. Players and coaches Players, coaches, and spectators should exhibit the highest level of sportsmanship at all times. Violations of rules involving conduct or sportsmanship can result in time-serving penalties. Violators, communication with and by officials should be a calm, professional, and business-like manner. Targeting. The creating of a targeting penalty aims to identify and remove the most dangerous body checks in the game with harsh penalties. The creating of new language should result in easier identification of those fouls and a decrease in the number of dangerous checks. Legal contact when holding the cross. Holding the portion of the cross between a player's hands, known as the cross-check holding, has been a gray area for many years. So by legalizing this form of contact and setting strict guidelines for how this can be applied should result in greater clarity within the rules of the game. Experimental rules. In order to test rules proposals submitted to USA Lacrosse, the Men's Rules Subcommittee encourages leagues to try several experimental rules listed below. So the rule change here is standing neutral grip face-off, which is the 4-3-3 if you look it up in the rule book. And we can go to this link here, eastsidalacrosse.org. And you've got all of this information here.
Taz.
So need to know, here's the coaches need to know document. Rules, talking to the league, schedules, game changes, adding an extra game, new games, buys, referees, honor the game ceremony, behavior. I think everybody's fairly privy to some of these, or you can just reference this if you ever need to go back to that. But since we've been kind of talking about sportsmanship and behavior, I think we'll highlight this portion. Do not scream at referees or you will be penalized and ultimately ejected from the game. If you're ejected, there is no appeal process. By rule, you are then required to sit out of your next scheduled game, which is the same as the players. If you're ejected twice in one season, you're done for the year, which is the same for the players. Spectators' behavior is your responsibility. Unruly spectators will be penalized and ejected. The rules matrix, this is a really nice document that that Bernie's put together for us to be able to look at what rules apply to what age group. So if you ever have any questions, you can reference this. What we usually do is we take, not only like our emergency action plan and, all of that type of stuff in our med kit, but we usually throw the rules matrix in our coach's bag as well, just so we have a point of reference. I also guide all of my coaches to have their rule book handy with them so that they can reference some of those things. A lot of our referees are, especially at the youth level, are high school kids. So they make mistakes. So we want to make sure that if they make a mistake, they understand what happened and you can have that conversation and we can prevent it from happening in the future. But that's not going to come from screaming at a kid or getting upset about it. It's going to be a learning process. And a lot of our youth coaches are learning as well. So, just take that into consideration when you're having a conversation with the refs. Bernie, do you have any light on that? We're just kind of going with the home team restrictions. Is that correct? And the home team should be communicating those restrictions to the visiting team.
That would be.
What's that?
That would be correct. And yes, you'll find the information on the facility page on the GELL website. So go to the specific facility. So you can do it directly from the game schedule. If you just click on the name of the facility, it will tell you what the latest information is for that facility.
Perfect. Thanks, Bernie. Coach contacts. GELL website needs correct coach contact information, critical for schedule changes, directions, COVID issues, and communications. If your club is using league athletics, your information will be automatically updated into the GELL website. If your club does not use league athletics, your information must be manually input. Have your program director or system administrator send information to Bernie. Schedules, we publish a game schedule on our website. That is the schedule. If you want to change something, you'll need to follow the procedure or you will not have any refs. And that procedure was outlined in one of those previous documents and links that we clicked on, but your coach contact info is on the website. Browse the opposing team's page and you'll see it. Contact the opposing coach and work out a new date, time, and location for the game. They're not required to accommodate the change, but most of the time we all work together to make sure that we can get the boys on the field. After everyone has agreed to the new arrangement, send an email to the league scheduler, Yuri, and Nick Riley, and you must provide it in this format.
One change here.
One change here?
Yeah. These are all going to Brandon Fortier this year. So not Yuri nor Nick. They're going to Brandon.
Was it 48, 43 at?
It's 43 at Hotmail.
Got it.
Thank you. Coaches, if your name is not appearing in a way that I can decipher, like iPhone Tony, in the chat, just go ahead and put your full name in your program.
All right, GELL scheduling. Home team needs to communicate any home field restrictions, guidelines, changes, cancellations, or any other pertinent information to the away team with proper notice. GELL is providing schedules to 4 guest programs: Bainbridge, Shoreline, North Seattle, and Auburn. These teams are not eligible for the playoffs. Adding extra games. You can add extra games, however, only on the weekends, not Monday through Friday. The only middle of the week games allowed are those scheduled by GELL at the end of the year per your schedule. However, Sundays are open for additional games. Home programs will be billed for referees for extra games. Email schedulers Brandon Fortier and Jordan Goldstein with the new information as previously discussed. To add a game, you send an email to the scheduler with the following information: date, teams, time, and location. If your team has a bye this year, these circumstances occur when there is an odd number of teams in a given division. Referee assignments, they'll be assigned, but you will not be able to see the assignments. If we can't get refs for your game, you'll be notified that the game is being rescheduled. Last year, we didn't have any of those. However, we occasionally have games where only one ref is assigned. In some rare cases, we have one ref games where he doesn't show up and you're stuck. So I suggest to postpone your game. If you play using non-certified refs, most insurance companies will not cover you in the case of a problem. So always beneficial to have kids in your community who ref, high school kids that might be around, maybe they have a little brother at the game, they show up and you don't have a ref and they can kind of step in. We've kind of lucked out with some of those situations. Please do not send the schedule emails asking, does my game have refs? We're checking each Thursday and Friday, and generally you won't have a problem. And if you do, you'll be notified.
On the schedule for May 21st for 5, 6, and 7, 8, if it does not appear already, you will have a game. It's just that we don't know the matchups yet.
Okay. Honor the game ceremony at K2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 games. We run the honor the game ceremony. Due to COVID, there will be no ceremony after each game. This was last year. Is this consistent? We didn't issue out stickers for it, did we? So if you want to continue that tradition, I would say feel free if the GELL wants to step in and send out stickers to each program.
I think we should. I think it's an important thing to do.
Agreed. Do it.
I'll have Steve send the stickers.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bernie. Behavior, watch the video on the website. The MBOs are there to enforce coach behavior and spot and provide feedback to the referees. MBOs can and will be flagging your spectators. This is your responsibility. If they don't know who the offender is rooting for, they will flag the home team. This is your incentive to have sideline managers. Now we're at the point, if anyone has any questions, I'll check here in the chat.
Hey, a question came up yesterday. This is Aaron again, regarding the 7 the 8-8, I guess, the high level 7-8. And with regards to one-handed checks, while it's not approved in the book, I know that previously in previous years, the GEL coaches, or I'd say the high school coaches, wanted the 8-8 kids playing at a higher level. So we've asked the referees to clarify with the coaches before the beginning of those games. Is there any direction you wanted us to provide different?
Not me personally. I don't know, Bernie. How do you feel about that?
No, it's fine. Whatever the coaches agree is fine.
Aaron, one of the questions here is, how old do you need to be to ref the youngsters?
The preference is 16.
Okay. I believe that the PowerPoint presentation will be available on the website and emailed out to the GEL directors. So if you don't get it within the next couple of days, contact whoever your representative for the GEL is. Greg's got a question to describe the honor the game ceremony. The honor the game ceremony is, you kind of line up the teams across from each other after the game, and you pick 2 or 3 guys. I think it was 2 guys from the opposing team that honored the game that day, that just played well and played hard and played clean and was a good sportsman and all those good things. So what we do is we give our players the stickers, and then they get to choose 2 kids from the opposing team. I'm pretty sure that's how most people have done that.
Focus on sportsmanship, not on athleticism.
Yeah. The sportsmanship, and like the only reason I said playing hard was like, the effort in the game is sportsmanship, right? So somebody that played hard, played clean, had great sportsmanship.
So the GEL representatives will be sending me their coaches' information if their program doesn't use league athletics. If their program uses league athletics, it's automatically going to flow through.
Next question in here is, how closely should we be enforcing the new shoulder pad requirements? I mean, it's the rule, so you have to enforce it. So
non-negotiable.
There's no gray area of how closely you have to do it. Headshot and defenseless player penalties. What's the story here this season? Don't think penalties are stiff enough, or zero tolerance. Had issues with the team last year. Players got a concussion with no penalty. Yeah, I mean, I think that there is plenty of point of emphasis on any contact to the head. The goal is to remove the head from as much unnecessary contact as possible. As coaches, teaching kids proper technique of, having their hands out and not lowering their head and initiating contact with the head is obviously beneficial for everyone to ensure that they're not going to get those penalties. And in the situations where that happens, I think that the refs have to set the precedent early, and I think that they've done a pretty good job the past couple of years of calling that pretty closely and understanding that those penalties carry a high regard. So I apologize on behalf of anyone that has had a situation where their kids are getting concussions and there's no penalties and there's leading with the head. I don't know how to fix that. That's something that I think the refs in situations that I've been in have handled well. So that's a point of emphasis, always has been. So just talk to the refs calmly and in business-like fashion, and just tell them to look out for it, because if it's one ref out there and they don't see it, if you don't see it, you don't see it. So just kind of point it out and say, hey, look out for this, watch this player, he's doing this. Hopefully they catch it. And if there's any malicious action with that, then obviously those penalties carry a higher penalty, like an ejection or something like that.
Hey, Chris, this is Brian. So I'm the one that lobbed that question in. And the other point that I was trying to make is, I think it's incumbent upon the coaches to pull that player that actually initiated that head contact, even if there isn't a penalty, and make sure that they understand, the safety and well-being of these players. Everybody should be able to go have breakfast after a game in the morning or lunch in the afternoon and not head to the, urgent care because of it. I know that, in coaching hockey for the last 25 years, I have to coach differently than the way I played. And probably most of you guys that played lacrosse, you have to coach differently than the way you guys played. So I think it's really, if the refs aren't seeing it, we need to do our part to make sure the kids are safe, not only on our own team, but on the other teams that we're playing. That comes to that sportsmanship and respect.
For sure. And, that's a little bit of what I touched on as well. But, in these situations, if your player is the one that is initiating that contact with the head, they are at just as much risk as the player that they're hitting, right? So everybody should be making sure that we're removing the head from unnecessary contact and ensuring everybody's playing safe.
Yeah. I think the only other point I'd make on that is, especially at the 7-8 level, when you have some kids in puberty and some kids not, you got huge disparities in size. And I've always told our kids, your physicality needs to be commensurate with the size of the player that you're playing against. In an example that I gave, kid is about my size and he's hitting a dude who's maybe 5'1", and he just completely decleats him and then stands over him. And I'm like, okay, and there's no there should be an immediate ejection for something like that, and I know you got high school refs, and I talked to the refs afterwards, and I talked to them the following week. But, for me, I don't care if they miss the ticky-tack stuff on the end lines and sidelines. I care about the player safety, and that's where I'll come somewhat unwound. So, again, it starts in practice.
You always have the option to, stop the game, call a timeout. If you don't feel comfortable resuming the game, that's your call as a coach, right? If there's a program that is head hunting and all of that, which I haven't really experienced, but if you're in that situation, you always have that option, right? Keep the kid safe. You can always walk away and play another day.
Yep. Agreed. I appreciate it. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention again.
For sure. Thank you.
Yep.